Hey guys, I'm sorry for the short delay. We should be going live any second. I'm just checking the software. And yes, it looks like we are live. We have an excellent connection and we're good. Thank you guys for your patience. So I'm back tonight with Stephen Gilchrist. Hey Stephen, how you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Hello, everybody. Doing well. Thank you for joining us, and hope you have a good live stream.
Yeah guys, hey, yeah guys, so I may as well just get this out of the way because obviously I literally just got off the phone with my dad. Um, Things went from bad to good and to very bad. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna need you guys to pray hard for my dad because not looking good. So yeah, so that's the situation. So we're now at the point where we're just gonna have to see what options remain.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So guys, I've been off line for a little while. Obviously, dealing with family issues, as you know, and but also, as you know, unfortunately, there was a small situation with someone that I had on my channel. And then after my last show with him, I was basically given a lecture and told that I am a terrible example of Christian behavior. I'm a terrible Christian. I am doing everything wrong. I should never insult Muhammad. I should never insult the beliefs of Muslims, I guess. But the thing is, no matter what you say, they will regard this as an insult, even if you're polite, if you question their beliefs. And anyway, so I was told that the advice would be to shut my channel to save my soul. I should repent because I am doing it all wrong. And of course, they don't really want me to close my channel. They just want me to behave in a way that is deemed appropriate by a committee that wants to manage my behavior. So
In in other words, make you a dimmy, Lloyd. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, so
Right. Okay.
yeah, unfortunately, so guys, I don't know if I am this terrible, yeah, then and my audience follows me, then I mean, you know,
Exactly. Says it all. Exactly. Right.
what is the implication about my audience, right? I have to wonder. So yeah,
Yeah.
guys, so that's where I ended up, and so I've decided that I will not do any further. I will not be further involved with this individual. I felt rather insulted,
Yeah.
and
Too
yeah.
right. Too right. Too right. Too right.
So that was that. So yeah. So I don't know. Apparently, one should never. I did ask. Now this is a question for you guys before we dive into these questions. And today we want to deal with some questions from. We had questions from Kodak Mana. We've had questions from Karan T. We've had questions from Erkan. So we want to go through those today. Do as many as we can in the time available. But
Yeah.
Jesus sat down patiently, made a whip, then proceeded to beat people. He did this consciously, deliberately, um, if I recall. And then
No. Yeah. He did. He did. You're right.
he quite harshly told people they were fools. He called people names, right?
Hmm.
And when I asked this individual about these events to his face the one time, he kind of looked at me and went, and then just ignored it and said, well, shouldn't you be a little more graceful? And don't you think that you're unchristian and you're not a good example of. And I'm like, okay, so Jesus was unchristian then. And I've
Exactly.
asked
You
in
just
writing
blast.
multiple times, and I've had not a single response.
Right, there you go. Right, I wonder why. Why did he not respond? How long ago did this happen and he hasn't responded yet? I wonder why that is, Lloyd. Can you enlighten me on that?
I mean, I asked multiple times, and I was, yeah, multiple times over the last couple of weeks, and I have also received numerous. I'd want to call them guilt and shaming verses about how I'm a terrible Christian, so I'm going to hell, and so look, I have never claimed to be an apologist. I think, as you know, at at best, I am a polemicist, right? But I mean, why should I not be angry at an ideology that literally allows sex with infants, and I mean from
Mm.
0 to 1 year old? Why
Yeah,
would I not be angry at that? Why would I
yeah,
not be disgusted by that? Why?
absolutely.
Nowhere have I said I hate Muslims, right? I hate this ideology. I believe it needs to be destroyed. It is a curse on the world,
Yeah,
right? But um, And many of you have come to me and said that with the information I've given you, you've been able to speak to your friends privately, and you have been able to turn people away from Islam. Right? I think this is a good thing. But yeah, guys, this is, I mean, so this last couple of weeks was a bit of a shock, learning about how terrible I am, how I'm defiling God's name, how I am being unchristian, how I'm misrepresenting Christianity, an example of Jesus. And like, man, I talk about Islam, right?
Yeah,
So,
you do. I just want to add one thing, just in case if guys, any of you guys who are listening on this live stream, any guys who are living in the UK, I'm not sure where you guys live and if you follow news today in Yorkshire, um, a man held up images from Charlie Hebdo newspaper, caricatures of Muhammad, the so-called prophet. He was fired immediately from school, and there's an angry Muslim mob after his head. So that's happening here in the UK, North England. So I'm not sure what it's like in your country. If you're here in the UK, I'm sure you're aware of this news. We need to expose Islam for what it really is before it takes over. The Crusades were the best thing that ever happened to the West. So, guys, even our own Christian brothers will talk badly about us and say we're bad Christians. But, if you really want to understand what's knocking at your door, you need to appreciate guys like Lloyd and others who are speaking out against it, because if you don't, it will be at your doorstep. And when you become a dhimmi, you'll look back on guys like Lloyd and other apologists and people who are speaking up against Islam, and you'll wonder where they've gone to. So just bear that in.
yeah. Yeah, guys, like, so, no, thank you, Stephen. No, and someone asked, is it the white guy? No, it was, this was Shamoun Khan, the Islamic convert to Christianity, who basically took me to task on this issue, and I was deeply insulted by this. Of course, they do feel that my information is very good, but I just need to present it in a way that he explained to me.
Deems appropriate.
I need
Right,
to,
okay.
behave like this and behave like that, and I need to basically be a nice little helper. And no, you know, I mean, it makes me angry. That's why I do this, because I'm angry about what I know and what I've seen.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
so,
It
guys. Yeah,
makes,
let's jump
makes
into this. Anyway, yeah, guys. So please send all your prayers for my dad. That'll be deeply
yes,
appreciated.
absolutely. Yeah, we'll be doing that. Definitely be doing
So,
that.
yeah, so let's read through some of these things. So, codic mana. Now, I did discuss this briefly last time, so let's try and take some specific questions. Once I get through this list that I have, there will be others as well in the future, but which I haven't had a few more questions. And yeah, and then on Sunday, I will be on with Ask Truth Apologetics again. Um, but I needed to take a break to deal with some issues.
Yeah.
So, why do Christians shy away from calling Islam for what it truly is through the Sharia? This is the first question. So let me get to my share screen. So, what is your take on Christians who shy away from calling Islam what it truly is through the Sharia? So that is a very. I'm just going to highlight this. So maybe we can start with the easy ones, right? So why? Well, Christians, just as Muslims are uninformed about Christianity, Christians are uninformed about Islam. They're not aware that there is so much more to Islam than the Quran and the Sunnah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Sunnah is obviously the Hadith and, of course, the Sirah, which the Sirah is something that is almost unknown, completely unknown to Christians.
Yeah.
So, of course, and the Sharia is the final interpretation, it is the final understanding of Islam, of the Quran, of the Sunnah, by its absolute best scholars. Now, you need to know that the best scholars in Islam, and I'll actually just write it up here, I'll just type it into this document. The best scholars in Islam, the four Imams, okay? You have the four Imams, right? These are Shafi, Hanbali, Hanafi, and the Maliki schools, right? You've got these. So these are the four Imams. They are called Mujtahid Mutlaq, right? They are Mujtahid Mutlaq. These are the absolute, they're known as, that means the absolute Imams, the absolute scholars. They have absolute knowledge of Islam. In other words, perfect knowledge. And they cannot be wrong, because Islam says that it is the perfect religion. Today I have perfected your religion for you, right? And also, I will never let my community agree upon error. So therefore, Muslims can never be wrong. But it's not that the Muslim knows anything, it's that he's following the guidance of scholars who claim that they can make no errors. Your thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's very true. If even though a Muslim will know nothing about what these imams say, they will say to you, well, as long as I follow them, if they're right, then I'm defending what they're saying, so that I must be right as well. And that's the basis of some of their arguments. They can't be wrong because their scholars aren't wrong. So, yeah, that lines up with
Correct.
what they think on their scholars. If they've
Right.
got it 100% right, then they've got it 100% right too.
Yeah, and they've already prejudged Christianity to be something that is abrogated,
False. Yeah.
right? And it is evil. So why are Christians silent about Sharia? Now that's an interesting question. Why do they not discuss it? I think Christians have a false idea about what Sharia is. They think Sharia is just what the Quran says. No,
Yeah.
the Quran might say something like, let's say, verse 929 or 9:5, right? However, that is not doctrine. Those are just two verses. They provide, so the Sharia, Dobry wieczór, Marek. So the Sharia provides principles. The Sharia is said to provide eternal principles. However, the specific implementation, the rules, the steps, the conditions, the dozens of pages of detailed information as to how to implement that is the Sharia.
Yeah.
That is the understanding of the scholars, and also the Sharia also takes into consideration all that is abrogated. I would say that maybe 5% of the Quran is left after abrogation is considered.
Wow.
I mean, look, if I have to guess, I mean, I'd say a couple of hundred verses are all that remain from the verses in the Quran.
That have been abrogated, yeah. Oh, wow. Is it that much?
Well, it's
Wow,
just that
that's a
when I
lot.
look through the Sharia and I look at the number of verses that they reference, it's very, very few. When I look at the number of Hadith they reference, it's very,
Right.
very
I
few.
see. Yeah, I see. Yeah, because from what I know about Quran abrogation, we all know the hadith of the Quran being sent down in 17,000 verses. Muslims today, if they follow the Quran that they claim to be perfectly preserved, has 6,236 verses in it,
Mm-hmm.
which leaves 10,764 verses which have been abrogated. Where have they gone? Why would Allah have to reveal a book with 17,000 verses and have to abrogate 2/3 of the book itself? That,
Correct.
it's just
And
madness.
correct. And
Absolute.
if you consider that we know of at least 1.2 million Hadith. Of that, if you look at the collection of Bukhari has something like 4,577
Yeah,
hadith or
yeah, yeah,
7,300 or whatever the numbers are. I can't remember offhand
yeah.
right now. I have done shows on this discussing the number, but if you consider what is 7,000 of 1.2 million, that's not a
Exactly.
big number.
Nothing. Nothing.
Where did the
So
rest
what?
go?
Exactly. So 2/3 of the Quran is gone, and 5/6 of the hadiths are gone as well. It's like, what is
Not
going
more than
on with this
5, 6, at
religion?
like
Yeah, yeah.
99.5% of the hadiths.
Exactly. What is
So
this
I'm just
religion? How can a Muslim tell me that this religion is perfectly preserved? The Quran is not perfectly preserved. The Hadith is not perfectly preserved. Nothing is preserved in Islam. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyway, so there's some very odd questions there. So okay, dare Christians explain what Sharia says about marriage, for example, just to see how much information is out there.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
now guys, sorry, as I said, I had a bit of a rough start to this evening, and I wasn't able to prep the way I would have liked to. I finished work at 8 p.m. and then I got this call from my dad directly after. And but there is a great deal. Actually, let me go. I'm going to find some information actually on marriage itself. Okay, so here we go, Book M, marriage. And now I need to 554. So give me 1 second. I'm going to bring up some information for you. Great. Of course, I went too far. So I'm going to show you guys what actually is entailed in terms of Sharia in marriage. And bugger, I went way too far here with this one. Let me scroll up far. Okay, so I'm going to scroll over. You guys can see this. Okay, guys, so let's see. So the question was about marriage. So let's look at the book of marriage in the Sharia. This is the Umdat al-Salik, the Reliance of the Traveler. So you'll notice that this is not explicitly in the Quran. For instance, how Muslims pray, how they bend over, when they kneel down, when they go ass up, face down, etc. Oh, sorry, I can't say that. That's insulting. Good grief, I'm a
Yeah, I
terrible
know.
Christian.
Yeah, you're a bad Christian. You're a bad Christian, Lloyd.
I'm a terrible
Not
human
good.
being. Don't listen to me. Um, um, yeah. So anyway, when they do that, none of that is actually in the Quran or in the Hadith. That is all in the Sharia, right? That full manual of how they do this is actually in the Sharia, right? So the Book of Marriage, Nikah, to all the haters. So a couple of messages. So big like Quran is supported by millions of smaller lies. That's very true, Gospel Age. So if
I
that
saw
many
that
hadith are
comment.
omitted, then that
I
is a
saw
lot
that
of lies
comment.
that have
Yeah,
to
I
be
saw that
excised.
comment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, there are hadith manuals you've never heard of. There are hadith authors you've never heard of. Believe me, the six books that we know, right? The six canonical books, right? The Kitab al-Sitta. That's just that's the tip of the iceberg. Understand? There are loads of them that we've never heard of, never been translated, that they follow as well.
Oh
So
my
the Book of
gosh.
Marriage. Let's actually just scroll through this. These are the laws on marriage. Okay, this is just going to be the instructions. Okay. So shaking hands with the opposite sex is unlawful. So this is just the index. This is just the index we're going through. Okay, this
Yeah.
is just the index. And of course, there's a law in here that says that the obligations of a woman are not cooking, cleaning, and all those things. Her obligation to the man is purely to have sex with him. She's there for that purpose.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this
I've
is just
read.
the
I've read.
index which describe all the laws, right? Now, I'm pretty sure you're not going to find this in the Quran if you have a look for it. It is not there. The Quran is not complete. Let's
Yeah.
continue. Childcare and custody, meaning of childcare. So who should marry? Okay. If we continue, we're going to be doing this for several minutes, going through these laws. Understand, there is huge amount of detail. And as you know, you can marry infants, you can marry adult women. It just goes on and on. And you know what's in there. I've discussed this before.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Absolutely. I was going to say one thing. I read this particular page, and yeah, it's very detailed on what the law is. You don't find any of this in the Quran or in any hadiths. This is just a separate thing altogether. Speaking on Muhammad and his hadiths that have never been heard of. I got to send you some stuff actually, Lloyd. I'm not sure if you've been through this on your stream. I'll send you something once we come off, and let me know what you think about it, and we'll do a show about it.
all right. No.
Some of it's in Arabic, so you might not understand all of it, but we'll go through it. We'll go through it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. So understand the Sharia reveals the very dark, the very evil, and the very detailed aspects of Islam that are hidden, even from Muslims. Don't forget, even
Yeah,
Muslims, lay
yeah.
Muslims, are
Don't know
not
it.
allowed
Don't
to
know
know
it.
this knowledge. So the
Yeah,
question here is it treasonous for non-Muslims to expose Sharia? Well, first of all, you are a kafir, right?
yeah,
So you are not to be, so you're not supposed to, and we've done this before, I've done shows on this before, you're not meant to own any Islamic books. You're not meant to have an insight into Islam. You are supposed to hear Islam from a Muslim who's giving you dawah, and they're supposed to tell you only what you should know, right? So they know the Quran and they know some Hadith. Of course, the Quran is effectively totally abrogated, right? But of course, they can tell you all those things because you don't know that. But remember, it is not legal for Muslims to reveal the Sharia. If a Muslim knows the Sharia, he has to follow it. And of course, they're not allowed to reveal the secrets or the weaknesses of the Muslims. And the Sharia, unfortunately, exposes too much. And so,
yeah,
no, they cannot.
yeah. Good point. Good point. Very, very good point. I think that's why Christians are silent about it because uh, guys like yourself who know the Sharia, you have the manuals and you can see what the books contain themselves, you can expose it. But other Christians who don't have this resource of information probably don't know as much as you do and thus can't really expose it. Plus, if certain Muslims don't know about it, then if Christians know about it, yeah, it's it's complicated. It's really complicated. But it's good that you've got this, Lloyd, because that you can teach Christians what it really says, and it will help other Christians, and it will hopefully expose Islam and put these Dawa gangs on ice, man, and get them exposed. So yeah, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good.
So to give you one example, if a Quran is purchased for someone, it is obligatory that the person be Muslim. The same is
Yeah,
true of books of Hadith and books containing the words and deeds of the early Muslims. So even the Sirah, or the stories of the companions. Quran in this context means any work that contains some of the Quran, even a slight amount. This ruling holds for any religious books, even the Tabakat of Shar'ani. which are biographical sketches of Muslims. Now, so understand, it's obligatory that the person be Muslim. You are not a Muslim. They should not actually be giving this to you. Of course, it's hard to enforce this, right? But also, they're not to be revealing the secrets. So, yeah, so this is the case.
Wow.
Understand?
Yeah.
So, why are Christians silent about Sharia? Well, they don't know it. They
Yeah.
are misled about it. Muslims themselves are shocked when they learn about
Yeah.
it. Remember, they are supposed to go to an imam. Now, this is something that I have been working on slides for this over the last couple of weeks myself. You need to understand what Gnosticism is, and you need to understand that Islam is a Gnostic religion. The people of knowledge, the ulama, the men of knowledge, right? It's completely antithetical to Christian beliefs. And before there was Christian Gnosticism, and I use the word Christian quote unquote loosely here, there was Jewish Gnosticism, which was also antithetical to Jewish beliefs, right? And this is actually alluded to within the Bible. Paul speaks about it to to Timothy, sorry. So this is something you need to know. There are things about Islam that are Christians have a very poor understanding. Scholars have a very poor understanding of Islam because they don't understand Islam at its core, and therefore they don't make certain connections. Right. So when it comes to Christianity, as far as I know, lying is a sin and there's no place. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Of
Yeah.
course, it's in the Ten Commandments, but Muslims, and we have mentioned this before, on lying, it is legal for Muslims to lie.
Yes.
So let me show you that, just so that any comments from you?
Yeah. Takia, Tauria, and Makra. That's what we learn. So yeah. Lying and deceiving is a form, a practice of dawa. I go to Speaker's Corner, I hear it from a mile off. I could be standing in the middle of Speaker's Corner. I can hear Takia on both sides of the park. So, yeah,
Right.
they have to lie to you. They can't tell you. Can you imagine if a Muslim told you the truth about Islam? Do you think they'd convert anybody to it?
No,
Seriously? No.
no.
So there you go.
And do you think that if the scholars were truthful to lay Muslims about Islam, that these people
They
would
would leave it.
remain in
They would
Islam?
leave it. It'll be the
They would leave
avalanche
it.
of apostasy, Lloyd. That's what would happen.
So on that question, so I don't want to go through everything; it would be a whole night. But lying, section R 8.0, it's in the Sharia. It's in Islamic law. They actually have a section on lying. There's a section called permissible lying, or
Yeah.
lies that are allowed. Permissible is a legal term. It has a specific legal definition. Like a lawyer wrote this. Lawyers' words have specific meanings. This is not the colloquial or dictionary meaning that average people would use. This is a technical meaning. Then lying between husband and wife is allowed. In circumventing those forbidding the permissible, that is, in defeating those who are preventing you from spreading Islam. And of course, that entails obligatory lying. Right? This is the religion of obligatory lying. I mean, this is crazy. It's actually obligatory.
And
Right? And
apparently,
Muslims,
Muhammad is the last prophet who came in line of the other prophets. And as you say, lying is against biblical scripture. So how can Muhammad be a prophet? Let's not go there.
it's
That's going to
crazy.
take us.
Now, on the previous question, teaching questions of sacred law to those learning it in bad faith. So these are things that make you an apostate. Teaching questions of sacred law to those learning it in bad faith. You, as my audience, are learning Islam in bad faith. You're learning it to prevent the spread of Islam. You're not learning it to adopt it. You're not learning it to become a Muslim. You're learning it to prevent it. So
Yeah.
therefore, you are learning it in bad faith. And those who do not want the knowledge to apply it in their lives, so understand. So if they are permitting or authorizing a person to do something that entails disobedience, then they are themselves being disobedient. I mean, there's a longer discussion around that. But giving directions to someone who wants to do wrong, I am doing wrong, you are doing wrong, and they cannot go along with that, right?
Yeah.
So permissible lying, okay? Now, he who settles disagreements between people to bring about good or says something commendable is not a liar. In other words, if you settle a disagreement by lying, you're not a liar because you've done good. Because action is judged by the intention. Your intention is to bring peace, so therefore you are not doing a sin. This is Islamic logic. Your thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah, that's 100% right. Yeah, if you lie, if you tell a lie to protect the Ummah, the Muslim community, and keep peace for now with the disbelievers until you become uppermost and dominant, that's something that you are encouraged to do because you're still not in full power. So lie, keep good relations between the Ummah, keep the Muslims together, and deceive the non-Muslims. When you become uppermost and Sharia is free to take over, it's a different story then. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
So
Yes,
Muhammad did not permit untruth except for three things. They are
yes.
permanently at war with us. They are permanently
Mhm.
at war with us, right? Settling disagreements. Well, do we disagree with Muslims on a routine basis, Stephen?
Yes, we do.
Or my audience, do we disagree with Muslims on a routine basis, on a regular, consistent, daily basis? Yes,
Yeah,
we do. So they can lie to us to settle
yeah,
disagreements.
yes.
Okay. So lying is sometimes permissible for a given interest. Okay, and that's fantastic. So when the purpose of lying is to circumvent someone who is preventing one from doing something permissible, then it is permissible to lie and obligatory to lie if the goal is obligatory.
It's madness.
Yep.
It's crazy.
So even in Hindu paganism, lying for good cause is permitted, same as Islam, but only Jesus said never lie, of course.
Yeah.
They will lie about that, but yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, of course. So that's it. So let me continue here. So hopefully that question is reasonably answered. The Jews, yeah, and the Torah, the Muslims reject the Torah. They only keep what Muhammad supposedly confirmed, right? And unfortunately, don't forget they believe that the Torah was corrupted and we have a false Torah. Now you must know from Gnosticism, Gnostics believe that Jesus, when Muslims talk about leaving a book, well, two things you need to know because I need to discuss this at some point in depth. We need to get to know Gnosticism. In in Christianity, we were as humans thrown out of the Garden of Eden, right? Correct me if I make a mistake here, Stephen. That we were
That's right.
thrown out of the Garden of Eden, and Eden was on earth, right? Because there will be, at least as far as Christians who follow the Nicene Creed, there will be bodily resurrection, and we will return to the garden, right? But so it's not just resurrection of the spirit, but also resurrection of the body,
Of the body.
right?
Yeah. No,
Now,
100%.
this is within the Nicene Creed. So now what happens is we were thrown out of the garden and the earth became corrupt. In Islam, they weren't thrown out of the garden and then wandered outside of the garden on the earth. They were thrown out of garden in paradise and they fell down to the earth. So their garden was in heaven, a spiritual paradise, and they fell down. Now, this aligns if you start to look at the Gnostic belief that they were all in this plane of spirit and the earth is evil. The earth was created by an evil God. That's why Allah cannot come to earth because Allah would not be dirtied by dirty matter.
No.
Understand? That's why Allah cannot enter earth and cannot enter his supposed creation because Allah did
Creation.
not create the earth. So the earth was created by the demiurge, an evil god, because earth is dirty, earth is evil, so therefore it couldn't have been made by a good God. Therefore Yahweh is evil. Do you understand? This is some of the logic of the Gnostics. And this, once I start talking about the subject later, and as I finish my notes, you'll start to see the alignment between Islam, besides the fact that the Sharia explicitly says that Islam is Gnostic. Besides that, besides the explicit references to it, you'll see the alignment with Gnostic beliefs that date back before Christian Gnosticism to Jewish Gnosticism as well. It's absorbed all of that.
Wow.
So
That's
okay,
crazy.
so anyway, so they fell down to earth, to this dirty earth. Anyway, so over the past years, one can come away with meaning one wants to. You can lie. So look, in Islam, you can lie all you want. It is not a sin, right? Um, so I'm just gonna leave that there. So I'll leave that there. I think that explains that enough. And then I'll jump over to Erkan's questions, right? So my questions for you said, how to prevent those. Those are said by fake ulama. I don't believe in khurafa, like kind of objections when I expose the reality of Islam to ignorant Muslims. So we say to Muslims, this is your law, and they say, oh, that's a weak hadith. That's the same level. What are your thoughts? We spoke about this previously. What are your comments on that, Stephen?
Weak hadith. Everything's a weak hadith. Islam is a daif religion. If you quote a Muslim their sources, right, and you explain to them clearly that this is Sahih or it's Hasan or Daif, even Daif hadiths are acceptable, right? So Daif is acceptable, Hasan is mid-grade, Sahih is the best of the best. So even what is the most lowest point is an acceptable hadith. So a Muslim can't say anything to you and say, well, that's a weak hadith, that's a weak hadith. Whatever's weak is accepted. So if it's in your books, whether it's Daif or not, it's accepted.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Muslims need to stop this argument. I'm getting a bit fed up with it now. But
well, don't forget this argument of weak hadith. There are two further categories of hadith. There's Maudu and there's Matruk. there'll be different spellings. Trust me, you'll find 10 different spellings. So you'll find it spelled Maudu is a false hadith, a fabricated hadith, one that was made up, invented, a lie. And matruk is rejected. They're effectively the same thing. For our purposes, they are the same thing. It is rejected. For instance, the hadith that Khadija was 40 years old is matruk. It is rejected. It may as well be Maudu. Okay? Now, da'if is not Maudu. Da'if means it's just not fully proven to be 100% true.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
on probability, it is more likely to be true than false. So
Exactly.
therefore,
Right.
otherwise they'd say it's Maudu, wouldn't they,
Yeah.
Stephen?
Yeah, I agree. So even if it's not 100% found to be true, it's still there's a large possibility that it is true. That's why it's accepted. So what's their argument? What are they on about?
Yeah, because it's not Maudu. It's not Maudu, so therefore it's okay. And also, of course, the Sharia utilizes weak hadith all the time and actually utilizes them. And, so this is the case that these scholars, Matruk, Marduk, Gospel Age Matruk, Marduk. Marduk, just remind me, Babylonian. So, yeah. So these people also, you're attacking the foundations of their belief in the sense that this is giving them, um, it's, that, what can I say? They've been told this lie all their lives. They believed certain things, and now you're giving them facts that just don't fit their narrative.
Yeah.
Of course, they're going to reject it, first of all.
Mhm.
Right. So those are said by fake ulama, in which case you can give them the laws that state that Muslim men can have sex with infants and prepubescent children, which I've
Yeah.
done. And then they will say that, oh yeah, I don't follow any school. I'm suddenly a Quranist only Muslim.
Yeah.
They all do that. So look, there's nothing you can do. You're just gonna have to keep peppering them with the facts and say,
Yes.
look, then,
Yes.
and if they don't accept those scholars, which scholars do they accept? And also, so two things that I do say to them, two things that I do say that has a tendency to shut them up and say, okay, as you know, your prophet said that 72 out of every 73 Muslims will end up in the hellfire because Islam will break up into 73 sects, only
Yeah.
one is right and 72 are wrong. So in other
Wrong.
words,
Yep.
you have a 98.6% chance of being completely wrong as a Muslim. You have a 1.4% chance of actually being right in what you say. So, which group are you in, the 72 or the
Exactly.
one? How
Or
can
the
you
one.
prove
Yeah.
it? How can you prove it? And also, the earliest Muslims were the strongest Muslims. The latest Muslims, as you know, the weakest, right? So are we living in the 3rd century, the 6th century, or are we in the 21st? So are you one of the weak Muslims or are you one of the strong companions of Mo? Because
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the
Exactly.
21st century.
Yeah. Good. Good point. Good point.
And that tends to
Yeah.
make him go very
Yeah.
fast.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, Muhammad said that his ummah, the first three will be the best, and after that it will dwindle down. So they're weak. They're the weak ones. Yeah, it's not looking good for the Muslims, is it?
Yeah, they're the weak ones, the weakest. So hi, Eric, and welcome. Yep. So look, they will always say that. Those are said by fake ulama, but don't forget these arguments were also used because people were ignorant. In the age of the internet, we can learn this stuff. I mean, I
Yeah,
know this stuff better than some imams, I'm told. Okay, I know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
I've
sure you
spoken to
do. I'm
people
sure.
who are professors at university on Islam, and man, I can mop the floor with these guys. I'm not
Yeah,
saying I'm adversarial, but I actually know this in some cases better than they do,
mm,
right? Because I've actually read this stuff. So these arguments worked in the past. They no longer work. We now know the classification of hadith. We now know
yeah,
better than they do.
mm,
So look, I think the aim is that they have to reject it. I mean, but eventually the truth will get through. You're just gonna have to be persistent. And the
yeah,
more of us that know this, the more of us that speak about this, the more that message they can't deny it.
yeah. But just be careful how you go about it because they'll start to what's the word? How do I put this? They'll start to shun you out because the more you start telling the truth. Remember, Surah 5 verse 101, Muslims aren't supposed to ask questions and Muslims are not supposed to think. So if you come into contact with the Ummah, the community too openly, you will soon be cast out and ostracized. So just be careful how you go about it. You want to expose the truth, but you need to make sure you're able to, have communion with people, so you're able to do it. So let's bear that in mind as well. You've got to be careful how your approach.
Yeah. So actually, on that, how the Sharia defines that question, um, I need to go back to section A. So let me just find this quote on that. So knowledge of good and bad. So we need to get to this. They say here, so the mind is unable to know the rule of Allah about the acts of those morally responsible, that's the average Muslim, except by means of his messengers and inspired books. Now, the inheritors of the message of Muhammad are the scholars. The scholars have taken over the mantle of authority from, and the scholars can never be wrong, because after the Mujtahid Mutlaq made their rulings, they cannot be wrong. So it cannot be said that an act which the mind thinks is good is therefore good in the eyes of Allah, and that they should do it, and that you'll be rewarded by Allah, or that whatever the mind feels to be bad is thus bad in the eyes of Allah. So the premise of this school of thought is that the lawgiver, who is synonymous with Allah or Muhammad, so in other words, they're the same person, they're regarded as equally authoritative. So that the premise is that Allah and Muhammad have indicated what is good by permitting it or asking it to be done. And the bad, so the good is what was permitted to be done or asked to be done. The bad is what the lawgiver has indicated is bad by asking for it not to be done. But good is not what reason considers good, nor the bad what reason. So do not use your reason. Good and bad, according to Islam, is the sacred law, the Sharia, not reason. Good and bad are determined by what you are told. So yeah, hopefully that answers that. So okay. Latest YouTube showing Mufti Abu Layth, and I don't trust Abu Layth as far as I can throw an elephant, man. You know, I mean,
Why?
he's got,
Why is that? Everyone says that about Abu Mufti Layth. What?
there are things
He
he
doesn't.
doesn't touch on either. There are things he does.
Yeah,
He goes
that's
in
what I was waiting
circles
for.
around some issues as
Yeah,
well.
that's what I was waiting for. Yeah, he's too. Yeah, okay. Yeah, fine, fine, fine.
Yeah. So
Just
yeah.
wanted to hear your opinion. Just wanted to hear your opinion on it.
Now
That's
there are
it.
things he doesn't answer. I mean, if you ask Menko, you ask, you know,
Yeah.
you ask some even Shabir Ali some questions. They'll waffle on and waffle on. I mean, it's like just open the Sharia, go to the page, show me the reference, right? Why don't you do that? Why do you give me opinions? I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
Have you noticed the pattern in the Quran, Sunnah and Sharia, that all Muslims are banned from doing something because Muhammad or the author of the ruling wasn't able to do it or disliked it? Now, Muhammad is the perfect example for all mankind, right?
Yes.
Muhammad is effectively the vice regent of Allah on earth. He is the walking Quran, the talking Quran. The
Yeah.
Quran is the literal word of God. Well, in
Yeah.
Islam anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, and but don't forget there are some things that you can't do. You can't have unlimited wives unless you divorce your 4 wives and marry a few more.
Yeah.
But Muhammad can have as many wives, so certain
Yeah.
things were given to him.
Yeah. He has the 16 rights of the 16 privileges, doesn't he? So the 16 privileges that only Mohammedan can have, and everyone else can't. So that elevates him above all the rest of the Sahaba and the Ummah. So yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, why, despite all other religions being either disappearing or becoming a relic of the original forms? Now you mentioned Christianity, Eastern religion, many others. Are they really a relic? I mean, I'd say they're under assault right now. The Catholic Church has most certainly been infiltrated by communists,
Yeah.
and the Catholic Church has formed a little bit too much of a buddy relationship with Islam.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
because you know the Pope. I mean, the Pope's a communist. I mean,
Oh, don't.
you
I
know,
was gonna. I was waiting for you to say the Pope's name because he's the poster boy of jumping into bed with Islam, isn't he? So
yeah.
at the
I mean,
moment,
so
anyway.
and some have called him the Pope of Islam. I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely a problem with this Pope. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in
Absolutely.
the Anglican Church, which is effectively it's almost like English Catholicism without the Pope. It's very similar in some ways. You know, the masses are very similar and so on, but it's very orthodox as well in some ways. But that said, you know, Pope John Paul II was highly respected. He helped
Yeah.
bring down communism, and he took a very strong stance. But unfortunately, with Vatican II, 1963, that has some very strange rulings in it, that they recognize Islam as a brother Abrahamic faith, and Islam is antithetical. It's anti-Christian, it's antichrist. We don't know if it's the antichrist, but it's certainly antichrist. Your thought, Stephen? I think Stephen has got a bit of a connection issue there. Yeah, we're reconnecting. Oh, you're back, Stephen? No. Yeah. Let me see. Pope Benedict Arnold. Well, yeah. So Christianity is definitely under assault. of course, people are trying to replace it with secular ideas like obviously social justice and critical race theory and so on. All of these do have some ties to Gnostic beliefs. I mean, Gnosticism is something we must investigate. Eastern religions and so on, or becoming minority religions. Okay, Islam, of course, has will kill you for leaving their religion. As you know, someone who abandons Islam must be killed. I mean, I think it's very simple. This is why. It's okay. So Stephen Gilchrist has left the building. I'm going to call him back on Skype. So give me a second while I get this call going again. Even our org, we have Abrahamic tent inviting groups. And yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure if you're hearing the ring here. It's definitely going to come through the mic. Let's hope he picks up in a moment. Okay, I'll wait for him to call me back. Yeah. So look, Islam, of course, has its blasphemy laws, Ridda. So let us go and look up the Ridda laws. Okay. This is why Islam survives. Islam relies on deceit and it relies on force. So apostasy from Islam is Ridda, section O 8.0. Section O is justice. Right? Whoever voluntarily relieves Islam is killed. Section O 8.1. I think that's pretty clear. So he must, now this is in the Shafi'i school of jurisprudence, he must first ask to be returned to Islam. He must first be asked to return. This is not necessarily the case across all the schools, right? Only the caliph may kill him. This is not the case. This is only an opinion. And there is no penalty for killing him. Let's go have a look and see what else there is to say. Apostasy from Islam. Leaving Islam is the ugliest form of unbelief, and it is the worst. And it may even come about through sarcasm. So when a person who has reached puberty and is sane voluntarily apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed. I'd say that is pretty clear. Ask him to repent. If he refuses, he is immediately killed. I'd say that's pretty definitive. That answers that question. Islam has been completely refuted. Fake book, fake prophet, all fabricated. Yes, and that I would agree with is the case. So hopefully that answers those questions. We would be here for too long if I had to go through some of the same old references that I've used before. Okay, Stephen has not come back yet. I wonder where he is. Let me just take his image away because, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that removes Stephen from the picture for the moment. Oh no, he's still here. I have to take him away here too. Okay, that removes Stephen. Now hopefully he'll call me back and his internet returns. So yeah, the Abrahamic tent. So Islam rejects Christianity completely. So let's have a look. We've got some questions from Karen. Okay, if I wish to research 2256, there is no compulsion in religion. I wish to find out whether it's abrogated or the further context. Is it better to search the tafsirs? If so, which one? Or Reliance of the Traveler? So, or the Hedaya, or downloads available for all volumes. So, have I lost my donate button? You know what? I may have disabled the YouTube super chat button. It's very possible. Um, um, you know, okay, I'll make so. But look, there is a little. Hang on, let me go here. You can see there's a link here on the bottom of the screen with the Revolut link. Just check at the bottom of the screen, the Revolut link. Use that. I do appreciate the support. It really goes a long way. It really helps a great deal. And we have Stephen coming back. Let's get Stephen back in the channel. And hey, Stephen, welcome back.
Apologize.
Yeah, no, he's back, people. So let's just.
Sorry about that, people.
Okay, so yes, he is back. And yeah, let me just make sure that I put you back in all of the sections. Yeah, I need to put you back here. Okay, welcome back. So now XYZ, you said Islam has been completely refuted. I agree, right? Oh, he's just disappeared again. Oops, oopsie. Yeah, he had an internet problem last time as well, so he couldn't chat. And he's back. Let's see. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. You there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, sorry about that.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome back. No worries. Okay, so XYZ. Now, on this question, Judaism, Talmud blasphemes Jesus and Mary. Now, this is very complex. um, question. Actually, it's a lot more detailed than you realize, but it's actually a very valuable one to explore. Now, I read the Talmud for 2.5 months, I think it was. I spent about 10 weeks reading it, maybe longer, but at least 10 weeks I spent reading it for a series of shows I did on Judaism versus Islam, right? Um, and I can say with confidence, and I've done the shows. They should be available on YouTube with Jan Irvin on the Logos Media podcast. Now his original channel, his big channel, was taken down by YouTube. He does have a secondary channel. Hopefully the content is there, but I want to redo those shows. You've been lied to about the Talmud. Now, I'm not here to defend the Talmud. I'm not
Yeah.
a Jew, so I have no vested interest, but I do want the truth to be told based on evidence, based on the actual documents. I want us to read the documents, look at the evidence, compare the context, and then actually, we know that Islam is vile, it is evil, right? But the Talmud is like a diary. It's multiple different things. It's many different things. In one sense, it is a diary. Now, don't forget, the Christian church has blood on its hands. It has murdered Jews. It has robbed them. It has raped their women. It has burned their property, and it has killed them. Understand, the church is guilty of this. Christians are guilty of this, right? And many of the Jewish rabbis were angry, and they wrote things to express their anger. And many of these statements are just the opinion of one rabbi. They're not necessarily canon for all of Judaism. They're simply a record of a discussion over many centuries where the Jews were putting down their thoughts, putting down their experiences, and they had reason, much reason, to be angry. Now, of course, Jews are not Christians. Understand? Christianity came out of Judaism, certainly, but Jews are not Christians. They have different beliefs, and they had reason to be angry with the Christians as well, because obviously any group that now disagrees is going to have harsh words to say to each other. But you have largely been lied to. For instance, there's a story within the Talmud where they speak of Jesus, and they say that Jesus was a practitioner of witchcraft, right? So this story dates. Now they'll tell you Jesus was a practitioner of witchcraft, and Jesus did certain things, and he went to Egypt, and that's all fine. And yes, it is true. They do tell the story. He's a practitioner of witchcraft, except this Jesus was written about 100 years before Jesus was born, maybe 200 years before,
Yeah.
because Jesus was a common name in the region, was a common name during the era.
Yes.
And this is a
Yeah.
story about a completely different character. But some
Yeah.
guy decided, hey, XYZ is an
That's.
idiot. I'm going to lie to him, and XYZ is going to lap this up and go, oh, those Jews are evil.
Mm.
So unfortunately, many of the stories are from literally centuries before Jesus was born.
Yeah.
Okay? Many of them are very speculative. I mean, I've gone through the shows. I'd need to actually, let me show you my notes. Actually, let me go there since we are on the subject. These are my notes on Judaism. Okay? For instance, these are my notes on the covenant of Noah alone. For instance, everyone talks about the Noahide laws. Right? Everyone talks about the Noahide laws. They call them that because they sound foreign. It's the covenant of Noah. Like there was the covenant of David. There's the covenant of Jesus. You know it as the New Testament. Am I correct, Stephen?
Yes, you
Testament
are.
is
Yeah.
covenant,
Yep.
right? There are 4 major covenants and there are 16 lesser covenants, and there are hundreds of minor covenants in the Bible. Is that correct? Or roughly like that, Stephen? God has made covenants with people.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, 100% affirmative.
So you have the covenant, and the covenant of Noah is the first covenant that we have. Then you have Abraham. Then after Abraham, you have David, and then the 4th major covenant is with Jesus himself.
Yeah.
Right? So those are the 4 major covenants. So it's not the 7 laws of Noah are utterly and totally misrepresented. I should do a show on this so you can actually understand how you've been lied to, how you've been misled, and how this is entirely biblical, because the 7 laws of Noah are found literally in the 10 commandments, right? 5 of them verbatim. So here's my question for you. If the 7 laws of Noah are evil, satanic, and the Jews are vile, evil people, then are the 10 commandments half evil?
Yeah,
Are
good
they
question.
50% evil? Because 5 of the laws of Noah are 5 of the 10
Five of the Ten
commandments.
Commandments, yeah.
So is God like only half evil and half good?
Half good. Wow. Yeah.
Answer that
Never
for me.
thought about it like that. Never thought about it like that. It's good. It's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh my
So then we know
gosh.
that the 10 commandments are 50% evil. God's 50% evil, you know? So
Oh
yeah,
my
you got to
goodness.
start thinking about this very carefully.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Understand? There's a
Absolutely.
lot more to this. There's much. Seriously, I did The shows that I did were about 20 hours worth of discussion on this subject.
Oh
It's
my
a lot of
goodness.
detail. It took me months to
Wow.
write. So yeah, okay. So understand that the laws of Noah. Let's actually go through them. Let me actually find them. And so us go through this. Since you mentioned the Jews and the Talmud, I just want to specifically go to this. I'm not dodging your question about the blasphemy against Mary, but understand there's context to this, and I'll get to all of that, but in the future. But let's have a basic overview of the seven laws of Noah. So, thou shalt not deny God or curse God. Is that Does that sound like something in the Ten Commandments, Stephen?
It doesn't know.
That thou shalt not curse the Lord thy God or use his name in vain?
Yeah, you should not use his name in vain, but it doesn't say the word curse. So,
No. So
uh,
we'll get to that. So the laws are: do not deny God and do not curse the name of God.
mm,
When we say use his name in vain, that's just one translation. But thou shalt not blaspheme God. Do not
yeah,
worship idols.
yes,
So are we supposed to worship idols? Otherwise, how is this evil? Thou shalt not murder. Are we supposed to murder, or how is this
mm,
evil? Thou shalt not commit adultery and sexual immorality. Oh, we're supposed to sleep around. We're supposed to bang other women. That's not your wife. Or am I wrong on this point? This sounds very familiar to the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. The
yeah,
seven laws of Noah are prohibitions against theft. Are we supposed to
yeah,
steal, or is God making a mistake here?
mm,
Eating flesh torn from a living animal and drinking blood, and the
yeah,
obligation to establish courts of justice. Well, some people don't want justice, do they? Six of these laws are derived out of Genesis. The seventh is the establishment of courts
yeah.
of justice. I believe God is a God of justice. Your thoughts, Stephen?
Yes, he's definitely a God of justice. I've done a study recently. There's more um, verses in the Bible that speak about justice and the justice of God than there are on probably any other topic in the Bible. So yes, God is definitely a God of justice.
All right. So the
Absolutely.
covenant of Noah in Genesis 9, 8 to 17 applies to all of humanity and all living creatures. In this covenant, God
Yeah.
promises never to destroy life on earth by flood and creates the rainbow as a sign of this everlasting covenant between God and every living creature that is on earth. So I don't know. So the Jews seem to have made up something, or is this actually something directly out of the Bible?
That's out of the Bible.
Sanhedrin says Jesus' mother was a whore. Now, yes, we can get into that. That's not what I'm talking about yet, because I need to get to my notes. I need to actually give you this. It's going to be a lot more. However,
Yeah,
are you
I've
sure
heard.
they're talking about the same Mary? Are you very sure they're talking about the same century? Right? And
Yeah.
of course, while your people are being murdered by the church, maybe you'd be a little bit upset. Because tell me, so I'd say this. Let's say America decided to bomb my home country. I might go home and shoot a few Americans. There's a small probability of that happening. I might get a little upset. Some country comes and kills my people. I might go home and kill a few people too. There's a strong possibility of that happening. I might say bad things about them if they were murdering me. There's a small chance. Okay, there's a small chance of that happening. So now I will continue here. So there are. Let me go and do a comparison here between these laws. I actually want to find a section, but look, I need to actually go into detail on that. And this is a very long. As you can see, I'm a third of the way through here. I'm a third of the way through this discussion. So let's have a look. Since we are on the subject of just one issue where I know the subject fairly well off the top of my head, and I can discuss it easily without having to go into detail. So the seven laws of Noah, law number one, do not deny God or commit idolatry. Turn ye not unto idols. It's in Leviticus 19:4, 26:1, Exodus 23, 20.4,
Yeah.
Exodus 25, Corinthians
Yeah.
10:14, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think the Jews made this up. It seems to be very,
Yeah.
very biblical. It's all over the
Yeah.
place.
This is.
Notice the Ten
Yeah.
Commandments. I am the Lord thy God, who brought thee out of the
Yeah.
land of Egypt. You shall have no other gods before me.
Yeah.
Right?
And I
Thou
remember
shalt not
Moses
make unto
being.
thee a graven image. Yes, sorry.
I remember Moses being a prophet who God gave the Torah to. So if all these verses that you've just given are from the Torah, it can't be made up. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So if this is literally found all over in all these verses, then I don't think this is unbiblical. Do not misuse the name of God. That's the second law of Noah. Thou shalt not carry the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
In vain.
That
Yeah.
do not murder. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord thy God, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain, i.e., do not do evil in his name. Do not murder. I'd say that's fairly self-explanatory. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Now, Do not steal. I'd say that's pretty. Honor thy father and mother. But have a look here at number 6, 7, and 8. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou
Commit
shalt not
adultery. Thou
steal.
shalt not steal.
Looks a
Yeah.
lot like do not murder, do not sexual adultery, do not steal. Ooh, okay, same
Yeah.
laws. I don't see where the
Yeah.
problem is. And so, yeah, hopefully that answers this question for now. Understand? I need to do a lengthy series on, it's probably like 6 or 7 shows I'd have to do on Judaism just to cover this and kill this issue dead. Okay? So, any questions? Okay? So, understand there's a lot more to this XYD than you realize. And don't forget, the people that are trying to undermine the Talmud are the people who are trying to undermine, who's instructed, which religion is instructed to murder all the Jews to bring the end times? Just
Islam.
one guess. Right?
Islam.
So understanding if they can undermine the Talmud, which is supposedly the exegesis of the Torah, then they can undermine the Torah.
Yeah.
So be very careful. There's a lot more going on here than you realize.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very devious. Very, very devious. Yeah.
Okay. So the 7 laws, just so you know, for instance, the 7 laws are actually subdivided. Very few people know, but idolatry, you must worship God alone. Okay. Now, it does say that Jesus cannot be worshipped since it is considered blasphemy. Okay. No idols or statues. But don't forget, Jesus, in traditional Judaism, he is not considered a religious figure. He's not someone that he was considered as a rabbi, but he's not considered the son of God. Don't forget, right? So there is a
Yeah.
disagreement there, right? So there's a
Yeah.
legitimate disagreement from their side, right? Do not bow before any statues or idols. Do not offer sacrifices before any statues. These are all entirely biblical commandments, with the exception of this, where we have a disagreement with them. Now, if you feel it's right to go and murder Jews for this reason, then you might have a small problem too, right?
Yeah.
Blasphemy, do not curse God, okay? Do not use God's name in vain. There are murder against murdering anyone. Self-defense is permitted. These are additional concepts that are linked to these. Do not steal. Theft. Jews have a very detailed, the Talmud is actually very detailed. Do not steal, do not rob, do not overcharge, do not kidnap, do not remove a landmark, do not use false weights and measurements, do not covet. So this is actually a lot more detailed than we have it within the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sexual immorality, no incest, no bestiality, no homosexuality. Now, note though that Jews are not going around killing homosexuals. I know one religion that does. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll leave this one for now. Any further questions, guys? Any comments from you, Stephen?
No, I think you've cleared that all up, and I confirm and affirm everything that you said on that one. Yeah.
No, thank you. So yeah, I should end off. I've tried to answer some of these questions, and you know the references do exist. If you have a question, drop it in the comments. I mean, I can give you the specific references. These things are in the Sharia. You know, I've linked to them in the past. And one of the other issues that people now have with Jews, of course, is the terms that we are goy. Goy is a biblical term. It's all over the Old Testament. It's everywhere. Right? So either God is trying to insult you for the rest of eternity, or maybe there's a mistake you're making somewhere. Okay? So goy just means nation. Right? Now, of course, yes, there are sects of Jews, there are groups in Israel that use the term in a derogatory manner. However, that's a specific group, a small group.
Yeah.
So don't forget, there's like 1.6 billion Muslims who all call you kafir, and a kafir can be lied to, killed, raped, enslaved, stolen from. Okay? And Jews, well, there's only like, what, 8 million of them? That's not a whole lot. So, yeah, and not all of them, a very small subset of them utilize the word goy in a derogatory manner, right? But goyim simply translates to nations, and the Latin translation of goyim is Gentile. And we use the term Gentile, which derives from goy. It's just the Latin translation, which comes from Italian gente. Right? So yeah, that's something to talk about, the difference between how Jews see the world and other people, and how Islam sees you as a kafir. These are things that these are things I can discuss, both cons and pros.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So,
Good.
yeah, but I need to read this and be prepared to. Oh, on that point, let's have a look. The Gentile stranger enjoyed the hospitality of the Israelite who was commanded to love him. Deuteronomy 10:19. Deuteronomy 10:19 says, and you are to love those who are foreigners, for you yourselves were foreigners in Egypt.
In the land of Egypt, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Where in the Quran? Where in the Quran does it
exactly.
say
I was just about to
love the
say that.
kafir?
Where in Saudi Arabia, where in any hadith, where in any Quranic passage does Allah command the Muslim to love the non-Muslim? So yeah, good point. You just took the words right out of my mouth. There you go.
Yeah, nowhere. Okay, so understand when Jesus said, "You shall love your neighbor," that comes out of the Old Testament. That comes out of the
Yeah,
original
yeah,
Jewish texts,
yeah. Just
right?
remember, Jesus came to fulfill the law,
Yeah.
right?
You
So
know the
yeah,
heart of the stranger, seeing you were strangers in the land of Egypt. That's Exodus 23:9, right? And the Kenites were treated almost as brethren, especially the children of Rechab in Judges, right? Uriah the Hittite was a trusted warrior of David. So there are many examples. The Gentiles had the right of asylum in the cities of refuge, the same as the Israelites in Numbers 35:15, right? They might even possess Israelite slaves. Now
yeah,
that's a little odd there, okay? Leviticus 25:47, and a Gentile servant must never be defrauded of his wage. That's sinful. And they could even inherit. They could even inherit. And Ezekiel, and for the foreigners residing among you, you are to consider them as native born Israelites. In whatever tribe a foreigner resides, there you are to give them their inheritance, declares the Lord. Hey, it looks like God had something to do with that too. It's not like the Jews just made it up.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah. So,
No,
guys,
it's
anyway,
good.
I've probably gone off topic a little bit. Okay. And also, the Jews are told, seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper.
Prosper. Yeah,
Whereas, of course, there's guys in Colorado shooting up supermarkets.
yeah. Screaming Allahu Akbar. And yeah,
Yep. So, I mean, there are issues there. And actually, if I go to, since I'm on this topic, because I have thought about this, there are copious lies about the Talmud. If I go, is it this one? Actually, yeah. So the whole thing I probably could do. So, for instance, one last thing before I go. Stephen, should I just continue a little bit with this
no, go
Talmud
ahead,
stuff?
go ahead. Yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening.
So, here's a very common. Now, if you go on the internet, you will find this all over the place, right? It very commonly says, if a Jew finds an object lost by a goy, it does not have to be returned. Baba Metzia 24a. Now, Muslims argue like this. They make statements that are very broad, lack complete context and detail, and omit a lot of detail, right? In
Yeah,
fact, Muslims argue like this all the time. Now, of course, the Talmud is lengthy. Good grief, you got to read that thing. Likewise, Rabbi Shimon would say, in the case of one who rescues a lost item from a lion or from a bear, or from a cheetah, or from the tide of the sea, or from the flooding of a river, right? These items belong to you because after a flood, you find something. How do you find the owner? How do you know who the owner is? They ask those questions. If you've just saved something from a lion, let's say, I don't know, like, how do you know where the owner is in the middle of the forest? It says, all it says is, if you find something and cannot find the owner, keep it. It's yours,
yeah, of
even
course.
if it belongs to a Jew.
Yeah,
Okay?
that
The
makes
dilemma was
sense.
raised. See, also in the Talmud, lots of discussions are literally just discussions. They are simply debates. Many times there is no actual conclusion, there's no
Person. Yeah,
resolution. It's just questions. Because the Talmud's a legal document. These were written by lawyers, these are used to train scholars. So they have to discuss problems and come up with problems and solutions. Not always are these actual rulings.
yeah,
Okay? So, where the, so okay, so if one finds an item in a place where multitudes are found, so if you're walking through Times Square with 10,000 people, you pick up a pair of sunglasses. Is the owner's name written on it? No. How do you find the owner? No way you're going to find him. The
yeah,
item belongs to him. Did he refer only to a place where there's a majority of Gentiles? No. But in a place where there is a majority of Jews, the same rule applies to the places where only Jews gather. The owner does not despair of recovering the item because he relies on. Does the owner not despair of recovering the item because he relies on the Jews to return his items? Or perhaps even in a place where there is a majority of Jews, the owner says the item belongs to the one who found it because there's no chance you're going to find it. Understand? If you say that even in a place where there is a majority of Jews, he also said that the item belongs to the one who found it. Do the rabbis disagree? And it goes on and on and on. Okay? So if one finds coins in synagogues and study halls in any place where the multitudes are found, and that's Jews, these coins belong to him due to the fact that the owner despairs of their recovery. So conclude that a lost item belongs to the finder, even in a place where there's a majority of Jews. Now, how come? Now, literally, when you read this, there's about 50 paragraphs. Okay, I'm not kidding. It's about 50 paragraphs. There's like 10 pages of this crap, right? Why are we only given literally a portion, a fragment of one sentence?
No,
Coco Jasmine, unfortunately, when I hear the Talmud, I associate with evilness. No, it's not evil. It's boring as hell. I'll tell you that. It's incredibly boring. It's going to leave you scratching your head. You're going to go, huh? A lot. Okay. Evil, look, I mean, to the degree that Jesus had disagreements with the Pharisees, right? We should have a disagreement. But it's wrong of us to lie. It's wrong of us to make statements and judgments without knowing what actually is in the book. Okay? The Talmud is not structured logically. It's not like linear. They'll have 3 conversations about horses, right? Then suddenly the next one's going to be about carrots and how to weigh them properly, right? Then from carrots, you'll suddenly go to, oh, by the way, there's a sale on at this shop where you can go buy wheels if you need them. And then goes back to horses. And you're like, what happened to the carrots? And then 3 passages down, it's the carrots again. Then suddenly they're talking about which kind of stones are best to pave your house with. Understand? It's kind of like, and then you got to read another 50 paragraphs and they come back to the carrots. And you're like,
wow.
that's how the Talmud is. It's
Hodgepodge.
really weird. I mean, it's not literally like I
Hodgepodge.
said, but yeah, sorry.
Hodgepodge book.
Yeah, it's a series of conversations that they had, and then it would change topics and then come back to topics. But it is structured in sections, like the section where they talk about Jewish priest, the Jewish priest can marry a 3-year-old and have sex with her. That
Yeah,
that
yeah,
passage is in a section on rape.
yeah.
Okay, why would they discuss how you can marry and have sex with a child in a section called rape? It's beyond me. So guys, I will leave it at that. Okay. So anyway, it says here, rather actually the Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. He stated, even in a place where there is a majority of Jews, if you find something, you can't find the owner, it's yours. Understand that that's what it comes to. It belongs to the finder because the owner despaired of recovering something misplaced in a public area, even with regard to a place where there is a majority of Jews. Now listen to this, the final word ends. With regard to one who left a stolen item to his children, if the item was something that may serve, okay, the heirs are obligated to pay the owner. So the ruling here is if someone stole something, left it to his children are required to return it because that is the honest and righteous thing to do. So it refers even to a cow that he plows with or a donkey that he drives by directing it from behind, which the heirs are obligated to return. How come that sentence never made it into the Jews can steal your crap stuff? Understand?
Yeah.
So, from the fact that the heirs must return a cow and a donkey, one can infer that they must also return a bed and a table. Stolen goods must be returned. This is Jewish ethics. This up here, this sentence is complete bull. This is someone literally taking a fragment of one sentence out of this entire passage, and this is not even the whole thing. Okay? And then saying, oh yeah, it says that. Yeah, it says that because it's a question. It's not a conclusion, it's a question.
Yeah.
And here's the conclusions. I've just shown them to you. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so Stephen, I'll let you finish.
No, I'm finished. I'm finished. That was very insightful, actually. Yeah, I need to look at the Talmud a bit more myself, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it says here, the Jew is forbidden to keep lost property and is obligated to return it. If you know who the owner is, you should return it.
Isn't it?
Because to do so is a sanctification of God's name so that they will glorify Israel and know that they are people of faith. It is praiseworthy to do so.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
to sanctify
Yeah.
God's name, you need to return stolen property.
Yeah.
Understand? So stop slandering the Jews. Now, if you have a problem, ask yourself, what does Jesus say is the problem he had? Then let's start there. Okay, but don't lie about the Talmud because, man, I will come after you myself. I'm going to go like, look, I'm sorry, buddy, but you don't know what you're talking about because trust me, you got to see how much I've written on this subject. Lots. So, guys, so that's it from me. So thank you, guys. Please, if you do like and subscribe, please tell your friends and let them know about this channel. Let's try and get up to, I want to get to 1,500. I'm nearly at 1,300. Maybe in about 500 years, I'll be at 2,000. Who knows? I'm going to be doing shows on Judaism. Thank you, XYZ. I hope this was helpful and answered some questions. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments. I will answer you. I'll let you know where to find the references you need. It's in the Sharia. It's in the, and so on. Generally, I'd go to the Sharia before I would go to the tafsir. Okay, because the tafsir, man, that stuff's all over the place, and I would mistrust the translations as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Not just tafsirs. Well, I don't know Arabic, obviously, but one of my tutors has gone, most of the tafsirs have been whitewashed and completely corrupted,
Yeah,
right? Don't trust a word a tafsir says. You might find a few of them that have a sentence here that is actual, the original, but most of it is just crap. It's just watered down. They all disagree with each other. They all contradict each other. They say the Bible's corrupt. The tafsir is the worst piece of literature and Quranic
how many
understanding.
hadith contradict each other? How many Quran verses?
Yeah, exactly. So that, Islam just doesn't agree with anything. They say our Bible is corrupt. Oh my God, I can't believe they actually say that, considering how messed up their religion is. Their Quran, their
Yeah,
Hadith, their Tariq, their Tafsir, everything. It's all
yeah.
a mess.
And also, don't forget, they claim that they utilize word of mouth. That is because, also, like, the Gnostic belief is that Jesus left secret knowledge verbally to his followers. And Muslims rely purely on verbal knowledge. Remember, the isnad, the chain of transmission, they rely on this strictly, the oral law, the oral information. So there are certain parallels there. We'll get to that one day. I need to start showing people about that. But there are reasons for those parallels, because Islam is Gnostic, and it's literally stated. If I go through look up the letters GNOS in the Reliance of the Traveler. Just search through the Reliance of the Traveler, looking up GNOS for Gnos, and look up Gnostics, Gnosticism, and you're going to find plenty of references. Islam is Gnostic religion, and Gnosticism is evil. In fact, if you look at the early church fathers, if you look at Irenaeus, he stated that all heresies are Gnosticism. Lilith, Delta Male asks, what is
Oh
Lilith?
yeah.
Lilith, dude, that's
Lilith.
that's a discussion I've had with Stephen. I've had with
Yeah.
others. It's a very, very long, very interesting discussion. But
In a
yeah,
nutshell, even Eve. There's apparently it's yeah. Let's just say Eve is not the only woman God supposedly created in
yeah.
the
But
Garden
so
of
this is
Eden.
not in the Bible, but there is a reference, an allusion to a first wife of Adam. But
Adam. Yeah.
short version is, so if you go through the Jewish texts, you will find references to Lilith as the first wife, but she was rebellious. She rebelled, and man, it's a very long story. I haven't researched
It
it.
is.
2 years ago, I did some extensive research, and I knew the subject very well. I haven't read those notes since then. I would have to. I hate to discuss a subject I've not spent time researching, so I can
Yeah.
show you on screen the facts and the references and why I make the conclusions that I make. Right? Why I draw those conclusions. But Lilith. So let's just Lilith has, there's a reference to Lilith, a similar word called Laylat in Islam. So just like we have Sophia, right? Sophia, the truth, right? Which is the Greek for truth. Islam has Laylat. Laylat is Lilith, right? Now, you'll notice that there are references in the Bible to Lilith found her way to the caves in the mountains in the dry place, right? Now, without going into all the background, all the detail, but a certain non-prophet found his way to a cave in a mountain in a dry place.
Mm.
Anyway, but
And this
yes,
and
yeah.
this supposed prophet, this false supposed prophet, Muslims keep telling me that he's mentioned in the Bible as being the Holy Spirit. Well, I thought the Holy Spirit was Jibril. So does that mean that the angel Muhammad appeared to Muhammad in the cave? Can you work that one out for me, please, Lloyd?
How come I never thought of that? That is brilliant. If Muhammad is the Ruach al
Yeah.
Quds and the Ruach al
Well,
Quds appeared
yeah,
to Muhammad,
exactly. Yeah. So
that
Muhammad
is
appeared to
crazy. Did he
himself.
appear to
He's
himself in the
he
cave?
squeezed himself in a cave, crapped himself, and ran home to his wife, and he did it all to himself, apparently.
Oh
So
man,
yeah.
that is crazy. Uh, oh, good grief! Yeah. So guys, look, Lilith is actually a very complex topic, and the thing is
Yeah,
that
very complex
look,
topic.
this it's very speculative. I will admit, there's a lot of speculation there. But if you start to tie in once you start looking into Lilith and connecting it to Islam, there's some very interesting parallels. Okay, there is some. I've spoken with Stephen about this at length one time, and it gets weird. Islam gets
Yes,
weird,
weird,
man.
weird, very weird. It's a strange religion, Lloyd. I have nightmares after I read it sometimes. You know, for the last few days, I've been reading certain things about Islam, and I've been waking up in sweats. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
quite strange. It's
Mo
a
was a
strange
sex
religion.
maniac, and Lilith is a succubus.
Right? Yeah.
And was he having epileptic spells, or was he? Because apparently he'd writhe on the floor and stuff. Hey,
Yeah, I've read about. Yeah, I've read. Do you know what? I need to send you this study I've got on how do I put this clean? How do I make this clean? Muhammad's
epileptic fits.
extracurricular
Oh,
extra.
oh, oh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
So
I'm
look,
gonna
man,
send
I
it
don't
to
want to
you.
go. Look, I've said things that I really shouldn't, but I, I just need to.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what? Don't worry about certain people. You don't need to reflect on anything on
Okay,
your status
well,
as a Christian. Some people will say that to you, but you're
okay.
doing.
Let me say this. Okay, if you go to the Middle East, men wear white, women wear black. Okay,
Yes.
and women often wear black with gold trimming
Mm.
on their
Hemmings. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
their garments. Okay, so the Kaaba. So if God is male, why is the Kaaba dressed in black with gold
Yeah.
trimming? Ask yourself that question. Why is the
Yeah.
Kaaba dressed in black? Because that's the color for the women.
Yeah.
Ever thought about that? Why does the
Mm.
Kaaba have a little silver vagina in the one corner? Because
Yeah. Exactly. I
that's
was
what it
just about to
is.
say that. Yeah.
Ask
Yeah.
yourself, right? So the Kaaba is
Yeah.
dressed in black, and if you read the writings of the spiritual, don't forget your imams, your sheikhs, and all those guys. They are the masters of the Sharia, right? However, superior to them, above them, lie the Sufi. The Sufi are the ultimate echelon of knowledge and power. They're the masters of the mystical. They're the masters of the Sharia, but they're also masters of the mystical, the occult within Islam. And if you ask them, what is the core of what is the core of Allah? Is Allah male or female? Ask them, find out. They'll tell you Allah's female.
Mm.
So I just read this stuff, man. Who knows? But so yeah, you get into that and you're like, what the hell's going on in this religion?
It's
So,
strange, isn't it? It's really,
but
really
understand.
weird.
So when you connect Lilith, ask yourself about the Kaaba. So,
Oh
anyway,
my.
guys,
Yeah.
I gotta call it because according to the Sufi, and they are the most learned. They are the elite level of the Islamic scholars. The elite level, the top, absolute top level. Allah is a female. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, guys, I'm gonna call it. He's yeah. Moving on, guys. Cheers, man. Good night. Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.